Big Bang Theory, because the Big Bang Theory, if, let's say, oh, well, I believe that happened, and in and through that, creation happened. Okay, let's just say that that would be the case. One big thing I see is what they're saying is that life came out of non-life.
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct, or is my interpretation of that wrong?
That's their interpretation of things.
And why is that a big deal?
Well, first, evolution. Well, the Big Bang Theory itself violates a couple of different laws of physics, and how we just in chemical laws, physical laws, things like that. But the law of biogenesis is we know that life begets life, and that means that you either have to go back so far that there had to be a first life form. Life has never been observed to come from non-life. There's all kinds of experiments that have been done. They've done hundreds and hundreds of test runs on trying to figure out how to create life in a test tube, and they've probably, I'm sure that there have been headlines even in the 50s and 53 when they did the Urey-Miller experiment, and they did that so many different ways to try to get it to work, and they finally got something that seemed like they could say that it worked. It's heralded then as we created life in a test tube, when they didn't really do anything like that. Not only does it not prove that abiogenesis, which is the creation of life or the formation of life from non-life, they didn't prove that it could happen. They actually proved pretty well that it can happen, at least not under the conditions that they used. Intention, they used intelligence, they also used test tubes and collected things and zapped, let's pull it out of there before it gets changed or anything like that. They did all kinds they basically broke all the rules so they could get it to work, and what they came up with were primarily 2 different amino acids, when for life to occur you really need about at least 20 different amino acids, and then you got to string them in a line of 250.
Okay.
Put the right way.
Okay, so with that too, then the law of what do you call it again? Biogenesis. Again, just give us a definition what that is.
Life comes from life.
Okay, so what that's saying, everybody, is life comes from life. In other words, that you've got to, if you believe in evolution, okay, and some people are like, well, but I believe God did it. Well, but what you're saying is that life came from something non-living, really without God. And I still am trying to wrap my brain around how they do that. Do you have anything you want to add to that?
Well, another issue that comes up with the Big Bang is that, like I hear people say, I believe in let there be light, and that was when God, boom, that was the Big Bang. That let there be light was not the first act of creation. That happened actually like a ways after God created the heavens and the earth. Well,
the sun was on day 4. And a lot of people think the light came from the sun, when it didn't. Right? You agree with that?
Light was energy. I think when it said light, I think that the real interpretation of that would be energy.
Yeah. And I personally believe God said, let there be light, and he said, okay, here it is. Whatever that energy was, sure, it just turned on. Yeah. And he just did it out of nothing.
And light is just a form of energy.
Yeah.
There's lots of different kinds of energy, but energy does create light. I mean, look at fire, look at an explosion, look at lightning. But yeah, everything works backwards. Everything doesn't work correctly. I mean, in light of God created the heavens and the earth, and he said, let there be light. Now we have to think, well, was the earth already sitting here, and then the Big Bang happened, 8 billion light years away? Yeah. How did it work? And then there's so many other problems with where did stars come from, where did chemicals come from, where did life then come from in the solar system? It's basically evolution, though. The evolutionists will say, well, the Big Bang is not evolution. It really is. And you have to work all the way back to where did it start. The Big Bang happens, then you have chemical evolution, then you have stellar evolution, then you have all these different things that have to happen, and then systems develop. And so, how do you make all this organized, very systematic, very clockwork-like universe? How do you get that out of a random explosion?
Yeah, I think it's just fascinating, and let's keep moving on here. And friend, just so you know, you're listening to Do Not Keep Silent. My name is Jason DeZurek, and sitting in with me is Steve Reisner and Brent Baker. He's obviously in California there with us, and I just want to say, or ask you, because with being a chiropractor, can you help our listeners just understand how incredibly made we really are, and that for us to be how we are cannot be an accident? Would you mind going into that?
That's really a huge subject, and if you look,
okay, for the next 15 hours. No, I'm kidding.
well, maybe not 15. I don't have enough for
yeah.
that. But Darwin and Haeckel and all those other guys who were like the cornerstone founders of the evolutionary thought process, which Haeckel was actually kicked out for being a fraud, but which is one of the things that evolutionists don't like to talk about. But they believed that basically, like, if you had the simplest eukaryotic bacterium, which is basically the simplest type of bacteria, is basically equivalent to a blob of jello. That's its complexity. It's easy to think that could come out of nothing, or come out of a pond scum, but we know that every form of life that we've ever found is more complicated than the space shuttle. Hundreds of thousands of little factories inside each cell, whether it's advanced cell like a Purkinje cell, the most advanced cell known to man, which is in our brain, versus just a little blob or a paramecium or an amoeba. Those are extremely complicated and very high tech. There's so many different things going on. I'm confident if we could write down, if God gave us all the information we needed to know about a cell, just one cell.
So like a single cell, that's it?
Yeah, just a volume. He gave us a volume. It would probably be 10 times thicker than the volume that has the information that we have right now.
You're convinced of that?
There are so many different things where I get taught something for years in biology class at college level, and then we get into a doctorate level class, and they say, well, this is what they teach you. This particular organelle does, this little factory inside the cell does this. But actually, if we remove that from the cell, it still gets that job done. So we don't really know what those are for. But we tell you that that's what it's for because it's easier for you to learn that way. And there's tons of examples of that.
Goodness.
I actually heard a man. He's a very smart guy. He knows a lot about biology. He said, every once in a while, I think that we know everything about life or everything about this, and then something happens, and there's they find out that we were wrong about something. I'm like, that happens all the time. If you think that we know anything, then you're crazy, because we can't even make life in a test tube. We've tried and tried and tried. And with as much intelligence as we have, we can't make it happen. And apparently nature accidentally, without intention or purpose or a plan, created something more complicated than we can ever imagine, really.
It's just amazing. And friend, again, I just want you to know you're listening to Do Not Keep Silent. My name's Jason DeZurek, sitting in with Steve Reisner. And Steve, you have this is going to just let people know where you're at. You're in Findlay, and where is your practice at?
We're next to the health department in Findlay, so we're right off of the main strip, the Tiffin Avenue, behind Burger King.
Okay.
Pretty much. Okay,
great. And if you could, for yourself at least, why is this such an important issue? Why does this matter?
I think students are being taught evolution in school, so they have, and since I don't think that it is correct, and I think it also takes away from the work of Christ on the cross, it takes away from the grace of God. Evolution is a theory about death, and it's basically how life came on earth through death, when I think God is love and God is life, and He's the giver of life. And as soon as you start throwing in little things like maybe this part of the Bible is not true, well, immediately you've just undermined the entire Bible. Why do we even need it? Why do we need a Savior if we accidentally came about and there's really no purpose to life? Our purpose in life is to worship God. And if if God couldn't direct that and make it happen, make us happen the way He wanted to, we're not created in the image of God. Then we're created in the image of whatever Mother Nature decided to do it, turn us into. So